You
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you do the next section? Black veterans.
Black veterans lead way to dignity, respect, and bodily integrity. Later in 1945, when two black women in their Women's Army Corps uniform were told to stand on a near empty bus so that a white man could sit, marshals knew that the case, I can't see anything, of Private Roberta McKenzie and Private First Class Gladys Blackmon would be explosive in the midst of the war democracy. 10 years later, thousands of working and middle-class women, fed up with decades of abuse, took to the streets to protest their mistreatment and demand the right to sit with dignity. The Montgomery bus boycott, frequently regarded as the spark plug of modern civil rights movement, was actually the end of a drive chain that ran back into decades of black women's activism, frequently led by black veterans, for protection of Afro-American women from sexual and physical assault. The Montgomery bus boycott was more than a movement for civil rights. It was also a women's movement for dignity, respect, and bodily integrity. Mr. Civil Rights, aka Thurgood Marshall, was a keynote speaker at an NAACP event to train future leaders held in Atlanta in 1946. He focused on police brutality, discrimination in public facilities, job discrimination, segregation, and the hideous treatment of, I can't see anything. What's wrong with my glasses here? Sorry, excuse me for a second. I got glasses on, I still can't see. No, must be the light in here. Where was I now? He focused on police brutality, discrimination in public facilities, job discrimination, segregation, and hideous treatment of returning black veterans, a topic on everyone's mind that year. Having helped defeat Hitler, black veterans returned home with a new sense of pride and purpose, and often led campaigns for citizens' rights, legal equality, and bodily integrity, and became the shock troops of an emerging civil rights movement. White Southerners responded with a wave of violence. I guess the next is the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Randy, would you like me to read them?
Yes.
Am I still okay? Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, the first question. Did you realize?
Go ahead, Benita.
Did you realize how key black veterans have been in leading civil rights causes?
No, I did not. I knew for the last chapter I learned about the soldiers and how they wrote letters to the governor, the president, demanding equality and justice for black women because they were abroad fighting for freedom, and then when they came home, and to come home and to realize that their own country wasn't standing by what they were making them fight for, it infuriated them. So I knew about the soldiers, and I could only imagine that when they came home, they would be just as provoked to really stand up and do something. And in the chapter, it says, black veterans came home very proud. They came home happy, of course, because they came home alive, and because they had fought and did a good thing, and to come home and still be treated like that was nothing. I can really imagine why and how they would be such innovators for the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I realized how critical veterans had been either in civil rights activities. I knew they were involved, but I think, really the experience of reading this chapter, or really of reading this book, is filling in a lot of specific details, names, cases,
Mm-hmm.
She names a lot of cases in this chapter. I haven't heard of any of them.
Right.
So, so hearing the details of it, I think does give me a greater appreciation for the role they played. Yeah. Anita, did you realize? Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Actually, I did. Um,
Okay.
I remember my uncles, Vietnam veterans. Um, I remember so many things. And I was a child. I was very observant, and there was a lot of people around me, so I saw a lot of things. I remember them coming back from the Vietnam War, and I remember how poorly they were treated um, in regards to just being a veteran, period. Coupled with that, being a black veteran. Coupled with that, being discriminated against anyways. So yeah, I was very familiar. At that time, I remember my uncles and neighbors that had gone to the Vietnam War getting together in the basement of Greater Mount Olive Baptist Church down on Bainbridge Street in Philadelphia, because when I grew up, everything was a family affair. Where your parents went, you went. You might not have understood everything that went on, but you were there in the basement while they were talking about different issues that were going on with black folks. Not just the war, because to be honest with you, they say, I've heard people say that the vets were proud when they got back. Well, not all.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about Vietnam vets or earlier?
Vietnam vets.
Uh-huh.
Not all. Not
Right.
all were proud when they got back. And that bothers me sometimes that that's used so loosely, as if everyone was. Everyone didn't want to be there. I remember my
right.
uncle.
Go ahead.
I remember my uncle actually not wanting to go, and actually the army coming by and getting him out of the bed and taking him out the house because he didn't
Yeah.
feel it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So,
But but remember this chapter is primarily focused on the 1940s,
yes,
and so the vets that they're talking about are mostly World War II veterans.
yeah,
And at that point, people believed that America was doing a good thing, um, fighting for democracy and defeating Hitler. So, there was something to feel proud of.
yes,
Vietnam was a different situation.
yeah, it certainly was. But yes, to get back to the subject, I was not aware of the extent that they played, but I did know that they played a big role,
Mm-hmm,
a large
mm-hmm.
role in the civil rights in general.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay.